and welcome to another episode of the Best Book Club, the podcast where I talk about the best stories with the best minds in the community. I'm your host, Nufatora, and this time I'll be revisiting the very first story I ever talked about on here, 75 episodes and 5 years back now, Excommunicado by Wedgie74, or Blighty as I'll be referring to him. With me, I have Vonjonw W., writer of the growing epic Anne on Manhattan. Thanks for coming on, John.
Thanks, bro. It's nice to be here. I try to think of a word, and yeah, that's why I took a little long to reply.
That's fine. So, Excommunicado was first released on December 30th, 2020. And thanks to the update to LuckyFetish, now you can't see views, so I can't talk about that anymore, unfortunately. Not even the ones that I did before. Or actually, I'm just a fucking idiot. The views are directly on the right side. All I had to do was look at it. Excommunicado has just over 3,000 views. But basically, it revolves around a girl who's held in captivity for a few days while trying to unravel a seemingly ambiguous web of intrigue that ultimately leads nowhere. I've thought about coming back to this story for a while now, since I was going about this podcast in a completely different way back then, 5 years ago. The first couple episodes, I was really mainly interested in using the stories as a springboard for into general conversation. Where now, and even just a few episodes in, I realized I wanted to, actually talk about the stories, kind of the whole point of a book club, and I essentially had to learn how to lead a conversation without dominating it. These 75 episodes have been a very long process of understanding how to tackle this format and making tons of mistakes. So now I'd like to start revisiting some of those stories I covered years ago. Will be pretty nice. So I guess before we really get into the talking about Excommunicado, overall, what did you think of it?
Overall, I'll be honest. At the beginning, it was a little bit hard to really get into the story,
Mm-hmm.
but I did think that it was interesting, I did think that it was kind of interesting. I really like the. It changes a lot during the story, But in the beginning, like the presentation of the school with no rules, basically, you know. It seemed like a fun road, It looked like a fun road, and yeah, I think it's like it's it's almost like two different stories, like in the beginning and then in the middle and then
Yeah.
So it's hard to not separate things, and yeah, in the beginning I was feeling that I was feeling also very confused.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have some how to say I have some things that I can say, um, that I can judge about some choices here and there. But it was interesting. More to like the middle until the end. I think that was really unique, really interesting. The dialogue is good. I like the dialogue. I think that has a lot of you know good good dynamics.
Mm.
The dialogue flows. I like that.
Yeah,
And
once the dialogue's actually introduced and it's not just a ton of description and
yeah,
big paragraphs.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really
yeah,
nice.
exactly. When characters actually also, I think that too. When the writer is actually giving himself the time to just let the characters talk, because I think that it felt a little bit rushed before, and
100%. 100%.
yeah, it felt like very I don't know. I would say meta, and I don't know if that's really
Mm,
the proper word, but when I say meta, I say that it's like let's make it the characters will speak to each other just and they'll just say what's necessary, you know. They won't just have a shot. They won't just, take some. It seems like the writer just want to have it to give himself time to just play with his characters in the story, to just let them do their things, just build them, just do the dialogue little by little, all seeming very fast. And but yeah, overall, I mean, I think it's a good story. Yeah, and it's certainly very unique. I think it's very very unique. I really like it, the how things turn out.
yeah, I think the I'll talk about this a little bit later as well. I think a couple times, but the the thing I think you're seeing in the beginning is the sheer density of ideas in the first couple of however many chapters, where he's just cramming the writer Blighty is just cramming things in as many ideas as possible, and
Yeah,
consequently, no single idea is given enough time to really marinate in your mind, and you're not given enough time to focus on any one specific thing before it's brushed right past. But
yeah,
he
yeah,
definitely slowed the pace down, stretched things out, spaced ideas apart. That was the number one
yeah.
thing he needed to change from the beginning.
I mean, I agree with that. I think that sometimes it felt like he wanted to like the chapters. It seemed like they 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 couldn't focus. They couldn't really have
Yeah.
a focus in the chapter. It seemed like he was playing with four different ideas at the same time in the
Mhm.
episode, and the chapters are short.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
are
for sure.
long. So
Oh,
yeah, he's doing four different things. He chose, Abby, and he's talking about Effie, and I didn't really meet any of them. Um, and then now the main character is doing something else, and I'm still like trying to really digest what just happened. And it sounds so fast and so many things. Yeah, I don't think it's like a complicated history to understand. You know, it's more that it's confusing because it's introducing a lot of things and not really expanding into them.
mm, mhm. I, uh, I do agree with especially, a lot with what you just said at the very end there, but the I think, honestly, my biggest problem with this story is, coming away from it, like, after having read the entire thing, is that so many plot threads they're expanded enough that I get pretty interested to see where they'll go, and then there's no payoff. They're just gone from the story for no reason.
I did feel that,
I'll
man.
save specific examples for later on once we start actually going through the story, but
Uh, uh,
yeah, like
I did feel that. I'll be honest. I told you, right? I didn't know like write down many things from like chapter 15 onwards. I have a lot of written down notes before that,
mm,
but yeah. I mean, I kind of felt. I don't know, man. I felt like uh, I didn't feel a true sense of conclusion. And
yeah,
it
100%.
seemed like everyone was against her, and I didn't understand really. I mean, not not understand, not that, but I didn't get some not like how Effie what Effie built. Like why. the main character Jenny, I say the main character, it's Jenny.
Mm.
How Jenny stopped it there, like in that school, and I don't know, but I mean, it's a weird story. I don't want to be. I saying like that. It may it may sound like uh, I I'm judging it too hard. I'm not
Well,
doing
hey,
that. I understand.
let
It's
me
a
jump
weird
in real
story.
let me jump in. I wanna respond to that before you go any further. It is
All right.
okay to criticize wedgie stories like that. I'm not interested in handling stories with kid gloves just because 'cause they're wedgie stories. They deserve just as much rigorous
Yeah, no, yeah,
criticism
I get it. I
and
get it.
critique as
Yeah,
any
yeah,
other
yeah.
story. So please don't hold back just because it's a wedgie story. That's
Yeah,
how
no,
people get better.
but
That's how they improve. And
I
that's
don't know.
those
It's I don't say that in like the rogatory. Yeah, that's a hard word for me to say. The
uh-huh.
rogatory way. I don't mean that. Like just because a white story is meant to be, people don't have to think so much. It's not that. It's just that maybe the author, he was more focused in doing other stuff. You understand?
Mm,
And but yeah, bro. I mean, I like most expectations that I had, and it was all like kind of being bent down, like changed, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought that sometime Abby will join the main character and they would fight Effie, and then the main character just beats Effie like no big deal, and.
right.
And I don't know. The police officer also like sorry, I forgot her name. The police officer and
Rose.
the yeah Rose, yes, and
Yeah.
Rose was like, all right. I kind of like that the how she keeps twisting the plot,
Mhm.
but like in the end, she just loses to Effie, and now Jenny wants her to go fuck herself too. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely have plenty of thoughts about the ending, but I'm saving those for the end.
I mean,
But
and I like the. I mean, maybe I'm jumping on too fast, but I'll start. So I'll
that's
say,
perfectly fine.
I don't know. I think Effie is. I didn't like the idea of Effie being the villain. Like the whole cult thing that she had, like using girls against themselves, things like that,
Mhm.
and using porn, all that stuff. And but I don't know, man. I mean, I think that I think Rose and Abby, and they like they could beat her much easier than than they did. Like because she's supposed to have this whole a lot of girls working for her and things like that, and we just
Supposedly.
see Rose and Abby. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
in the school we see some girls hanging. I didn't really understand that,
That's it.
but yeah, we also
That's
don't have
yeah.
like girls make them, putting them in hanging edges. She does not really have a gang working for her, like
No.
the gangster that she was supposed to be, right? Like
Mhm.
this boss, this character that I mean, she was described like that. She had people working for her,
Yeah, where
and
are all these other girls that Effie supposedly made a blackmailish video of? All we see is Rose
yes,
and yeah, yeah,
exactly, and
absolutely.
yes, and I can understand that Rose fights Effie and she loses. All right, so Effie is stronger than Rose. But how she keeps Abby there, right?
Mhm.
Why Abby does not call the police? Because that's a plot element, right? Some Wedgie stories would be like, the police is not a thing that exists, right? Some Wedgie histories. And that's all right. That's okay. The fantasy of that story. But
Par
this
for the
one,
course. Yeah.
it was mentioned like Jenny wants to go to the police.
Mhm.
So why Abby didn't
And,
do that?
oh, they both Abby and Jenny have phones, and
Yeah,
there is absolutely no mention of there being terrible reception or no reception at this place.
yeah,
Why don't they just call
I
the police right away?
yes, I forgot that. I forgot that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true. It's true.
chapter 14 mentions that Jenny has a phone. And then chapter 21 is the chapter where Rose gives Jenny a phone so they can communicate. But
Uh-huh.
I'll also get into that once we get to those parts of the story. But diving right into the actual story now, like what actually the narrative and the series of events. In the opening chapter, there's a line that's very odd to me. Quote, "It had hurt like hell, but hey, if that was the worst that happened over 5 years of high school, so be it." 5 years of high school? Where's the fifth year coming from? You got freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
Hmm.
What comes after that?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a Brazilian, right? So I was not sure because here we have 3 years of high school,
This is definitely a
and
British person writing this, by the way. It's not an American person.
yeah, yeah, yes. So when she wrote 5 years of high school, I didn't understand because I write in Mahara, so I know it's 4 years.
Yeah. It 100%.
So,
It's just yeah, it's a
but
story set in America, but somehow 5 years of high that does not exist. That's just an incorrect. I don't know what that is.
yeah, no, but I mean I think that's okay. You're right, and that's not a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. I think it's a little inconsistent to mention Jenny glancing at her watch without saying she put it on, despite, if you remember, Blighty spent a good bit of time describing the rest of her outfit and good bit of time comparatively to the rest of the chapter since it's so short. Uh,
Mhm,
but it's very because he talks about all the rest of her clothes, what she's wearing, but not her watch for some reason. Um, but I
mhm.
think the way that he is immediately able to sidestep a bunch of the usual questions around schools in Wedgie stories is really smart, but it's also kind of awkward. Have you ever read Wedgie Academy or I can't remember? There's so many from way back in the day of Calypso Academy, just schools that somehow for some reason center around wedgies and nobody's been able to stop them.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. Like most of the stories that I have read was like many years ago. So I'm not really sure if I have read it,
Mm-hmm.
like a Wedge Academy and the one that I mentioned. But I do know what I talk about. Stories
Yeah.
that not just it's schools, it's like camps. Like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
those camp schools. I forgot.
Like Camp
Like the
Nonami or
Girl Scouts, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that that centers around edges,
Yeah.
wedges. I understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
know them.
I think the way that Blighty is able to dodge, like all the questions that come that if you start thinking about those stories and the premises behind them, why aren't there any teachers around? What's going on here? Why is there no true disciplinary authority or regulatory body or something? Blighty's able to dodge all that because we know it's established from the get-go that there are no teachers around and we learn why there aren't any really quickly from Abby. But it is very expository and it's not subtle at all because Abby is just straight up telling Jenny right away with no build up or anything. And later events do seem to completely contradict what Abby is telling Jenny. That could be chalked up to Abby feeding Jenny false info, so she's led completely off the trail of Abby being the one pulling the strings. And I'm very interested to hear what you thought of that twist, the Abby twist, when we get to it. But I think it is more just that Blighty had a different vision for the story when he'd only written a single chapter or a couple, and that this was going to be an actual school and not what it turned out to be as a fetishist's playground.
Yeah, yeah, it's what I did feel that too. Like I think that maybe he wrote this one episode and he was 100% sure what was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the main thing for me was that yeah, I have read the first episode, the first chapter, and what I thought was, hey, that's a fun idea. A
Mhm.
school with no rules at all. Students are their own bosses, like almost
Yeah.
like a job. And what I think was that okay, it's a fantasy history. I was not seeing it as realistic. And and yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, but as the story progresses, I kind of started to think like, how did Jenny ended up here? Like how did she found this school?
Well,
Like was
that is actually shown in, I think Jenny or whoever's perspective it is, they say that I think probably Jenny that her dad
Mhm.
put her there.
Oh, so but all right. So is it explaining like how her dad found this school?
No, 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 no.
Yeah,
Don't
because
expect
I mean,
any real explanation for things. Just
yeah, because
things.
I do remember that in chapter 2 or 3, it's
Yeah,
they were mentioning that her father is very rich,
yes.
and he made his money like he has good money, right? He has bad money.
Supposedly
So
something like that, something to that effect, but we don't learn anything about it.
yeah, exactly. I was
It's just
thinking
intrigue piled on top of suspense.
in the beginning, I was thinking that she went to a boarding school.
Mhm.
She stepped in a boarding school, and those girls, they were just trying to be mean to everyone who step in the school. Like it's a bad boarding school. It's a boarding school with people that want to fuck you up. It's just a lot of bullying, and very common in the stores. And they just found uh, a big victim, right? Someone that has a dad that makes a lot of doubtful money, so they have a little reason to pick on her, you know, and like I don't know if if your parents are on jail, something like that. Maybe some kid will go mess you up and talk about it, right?
Mhm.
Just someone more vulnerable. And yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's that's not a point anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, it looks like it has nothing to do with her dad.
Unfortunately, yeah. Uh, Now, Abby tells Jenny that the school is Excommunicado, hence the name of the story. And initially, I think that name does work very well for the story. But I don't understand why that means, quote, essentially there are no teachers. All protection privileges are suspended. What does that mean? And what privileges are being referred to here? It
I
seems
mean,
mainly like a way for Blighty to have the school be free from investigation or real consequences, and it's a direct rip from John Wick without actually meaning anything. It's just a
that's
fun term that I think he really liked, and
I
after
mean,
watching John Wick, and it didn't really have any real impact beyond layering on more and more suspense without actually leading to anything again.
did you watch John Wick? I didn't understand.
He saw I don't one of them, whichever one Wick was made excommunicado in, and he really liked that word. So
I
that's
think
kind of
no, but you watch it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen all 4 of them. I
Uh,
really like that movie series.
yeah, I watched three of the movies. I didn't watch the four yet.
Okay, 4
And
is I think 4 is really good. It's better than 3. I don't remember if I think it's better than 2.
yeah, I drove a little away from movies. I have to see it.
Mhm.
I did forget actually. I
Very
will
good.
watch sometime.
Definitely recommend.
But yeah, like Excommunicado, like remember me if I'm wrong. But Excommunicado, it's when basically he's like banned from the hitman world, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's need to hunt him, right? Everyone needs to hunt him now, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think excommunicado necessarily means everybody's gonna hunt him, just that he is barred from
Yeah,
all services relating to the Hitman world, and because I guess because his skills are so highly valuable, people are going after him because he's hurt so many people, he's not protected anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. He's not protected anymore.
He's
Exactly.
got so many enemies,
Uh,
that's why they all go after him.
yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, because for example, he has the that hotel where it's like a no PvP zone, right?
Yes.
So
No
yes, he
physical
has.
content on the ground.
I remember he has some things that he can use to protect himself. And yeah, bro. I mean, in the beginning, I was really feeling that. I was feeling that Janie was excommunicado. You know,
From what though?
I mean, she was entering a school where everyone was her enemy. You know, I mean, she was buried for anything. Um, maybe I don't know if the writer tried that, but maybe I think that he could go in a path where Jenny is excommunicado from the outside world too, because
Mm.
of her father, because of um, the
Hmm.
fact that she can't really make friends because they interested in her money. I mean, he would have to expand on it. He would have
Mm.
to write more stuff. But do you get me? I think that he
Yes.
had a path. I think that he had
That
blocks. He just had to
that
build
oh,
something. Oh,
that is a such a good idea, John. Holy shit. I didn't even think of that. But that's so good because it's so intentional in it would add so much intentionality behind why she's there, and it would make so
yeah.
much more sense. Oh, that's perfect.
That's why you
It
love me, bro. That's why you love me.
that's such a good idea, man. Oh.
That's why you love me, bro. That's why. But yeah, man. I think that I in the beginning I felt a little bit, and I did think that the story had a lot of loose blocks to build this, but he would have to build it, and
Yeah.
I like you like the ideas. I'm happy. So, but yeah, I think that it's with those ideas, and then you build the house, right?
Yeah.
You do the architecture, right?
Yeah, it's so he laid the foundation, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was the story did not lack for good ideas. It just didn't capitalize on them as much
Yes,
as
yes.
so many of them should have been.
Yes, 100%. I agree. He had a lot
Yeah.
of good ideas, great ideas. I mean, I can say I'm envy of some of those ideas because I really think that the guy is really creative.
I'm
I,
gonna say
I
I was gonna say it's kinda funny that you say that because, Anno Manhattan kinda seems like you successfully uh, capitalizing, that's wow, that word just escaped me, you capitalizing on the ideas of the initial Anno Manhattan release.
mhm. No, thanks. But I mean, yeah, yeah. I think that Anime Manhattan goes really crazy. I think I capitalize on a lot of ideas.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of makes a lot of parrots too, right? So yeah, yeah. But I mean, when I say the envy thing, like it's not really envy, but it's something that I think is really cool. It's because I think that this guy he has a lot of ideas that are very unique, and
Mm,
I think that's so fucking cool. And
mm,
sometimes I don't really read a lot of web stories in the moment, but
mm,
sometimes I click in a story or the other, and I just read the outline just to see what's about because like it appears to me in the right side of my DeviantArt. And I read the outline and I just see a story that's, you know, it's nothing new. It's like
mm,
I feel like I have read a story like that previous times.
yeah,
Just different dialogue, different characters, different, names. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that's bad. People can do that. But I think that the coolest thing to do is to build unique things, right? And
yeah,
I mean, building the like a suspense, a action movie that's about wedges, criminal. You have like actual criminals. You have people that were sexually abusing girls, right? So it's a very mature topic, and yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It's different. It's very different. It's different than just. I don't know, making and make like um, writing a high school where everyone gets wedgies and
Mm,
people are hanging on the flagpole every day, and things like that.
yeah.
So yeah, it's unique. I really like it. I really
Mm,
like it.
mhm,
But yeah, I feel like some ideas are not that expanded, and uh, I think there's some twists. Like he makes the twist, and he could make it pop more. Like when Rose reveals that she's a policy officer, make it a small arc about it, right? Make no, don't just throw it and then follow the story. Like make make that count. Make she go to the to how's the name, man? Police station is that name, right?
mhm.
Police station, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, police station. Make her go there. The story puts us in the Rose POV, like the point of view sometimes. So
Mhm.
use that, use that more, right?
Yeah. True.
And
But I think that I got thoughts on that as well, but I think it should have been done very
yeah,
differently.
sometimes I think it's a little strange. I think,
Yeah.
but
But
I like
before
the
before we
the
get
double
too
POV.
far away from the Excommunicado conversation, I just have a little bit more that I'd like to discuss about it. I think Abby's dialogue is a little disappointing to look back on when you make it to the end. So much of the potential for the story, like we've been saying with so many of these ideas, there's so much potential in them. So much of the potential for the story itself was in the premise put forth in that paragraph of Abby talking to Jenny. Yeah, it's a school run by the students in a similar manner to the Stanford prison experiment, but we never get any legit schooling. It's just a convoluted plot to keep Jenny captive
Hmm.
for kicks, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah. And I mean, I think that Abby, for me, she felt like she had so little purpose, Like I mean,
mm. Yeah.
all right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she was a minion of Effie, just like Rose. She had to give Jenny wedges, because otherwise she would be the one getting them, and if she does not bully Jenny, it thinks that it was for her. But yeah, I mean, when I say uh, that he should make more students, and I'm not saying that he needs to make a medium of characters, like present everyone, not that. But yes, give us the illusion of a school. Make
Mhm.
make Effie have like 10 minions that are swarming the school. And Abby, she buddies other girls too, not just Janie, Um, yeah, I think that having a bigger illusion, um, maybe illusion is not the best word, but make the world feel more alive,
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, just like John Wick, right? John
Yeah.
Wick, he's excommunicado, and he has so many fucking enemies.
Yeah.
Some of them are named, right? Most of
Uh,
them have no names; they just die,
yes. But
know.
they exist.
Yeah, they exist because the director he has to tell us that the entire Hitman world wants to kill this guy, right?
Mhm.
And in the entire Hitman world, there are a lot of bad Hitmans, a lot of stormtroopers that just miss every shot.
Well, I mean, there's
And
I of course, John Wick also becomes a stormtrooper when it comes time to kill the head bodyguard for the guy's son in the first movie, but,
yeah, convenience,
the
convenience.
it's, there was it just got out of my head. It just ran away from me. Like, the thought just left me behind. Oh, I just had a really good thought. Damn it. Oh, I the world of John Wick feels a lot more alive and things going on in the background because everybody already knows John Wick. His legacy is all over the place, and we don't see people communicating in like telling each other about their different exploits. People just know because it word gets around and things are happening beyond what we're seeing. Um, but
Mhm.
I, I guess one last thing to tie it to John Wick. The title does remind me of Karate Friends by Saseda. Don't know if you read that one. Fantastic story.
I think I
Uh,
did, but like a lot of time in the past. Yeah. But this
Definitely
one,
check it
I'm
out
pretty
again
sure.
if you have if it's been a while. But it's karate is a huge part of that story initially, very initially, but it gets phased out and it stops having any relevance to the plot. Karate just does not matter at all to the story called Karate Friends, and that happens remarkably quickly here in Excommunicado. Excommunicado, the mystery of it is kept up for a while, but doesn't actually mean anything because nothing comes of it.
Mhm. Yes, yes. I mean, if I think about John Wick, I mean that's not really related to story, it's just an idea. But if I think about John Wick and I think about a wedge story, I think that, and with the title is Comunicado, right? I think that she needs to enter the school, and I don't know, man. She just has a bad reputation, right? Just like John Wick. But she maybe is also kind of a badass for some reason. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
Lady did try to build her up as a badass with all the martial arts training,
Yes.
which
I know
boils
that.
down to just a couple punches is all we ever really see.
I know that she ends up being a badass in the story because she did karate and a bunch of things. But I mean more about her being a badass in the, you know, in having experience somehow, just like John Wick is a experienced hitman. For example, maybe if uh, just throwing it out in the wild, but if Jenny was like she grew up bullying a lot of people. She was like the worst
Mm.
bully. She was expelled from 7 different schools, and now she found this school,
Uh-huh.
and maybe some of the students that she bullied in the past they stood there, and maybe some other reason makes everyone there hate her.
Ye
So now she's in a school with a lot of enemies, but she has a lot of experience.
mm,
She's like the strongest there, but everyone's against her. You know,
yeah,
and
damn.
yeah, so something like that. I think that would make more sense with the title. Um,
Yeah, I actually gave me a really good way to spin this story is rather than a nebulous school where we don't really see any other students, it's a school for sending the worst of the worst bullies to reform them
yeah,
into productive members of society, and so you get all of the worst bullies
yeah. No,
butting
that's great.
heads, and that'd be a great story to see.
Yeah, that would be a fucking great story. That's like
Mm,
amazing idea. That's amazing idea. and and yeah, it fits. Hold hand. It can hold hands with my idea
mm,
because yeah, some all those bad bullies are sitting there, and then you have the worst of them all. She's just sitting there, in the end, and she
mm.
gets there, and everyone's like, "Hey, this girl, she has her father is a motherfucker, right? He did a lot of bad things. He makes a lot of bad money. He fucking a lot of people, and she's also a fucker. She's also very bad. She also fucked everyone here.
Mm.
But you look, she just came into the school, so we already have our reputation. We already have our gains, right? She's alone, right?
Yeah, she doesn't know anything about
So
us, we know everything about her.
yeah, just like John Wick, right? John Wick in the
Yep.
beginning, he lost all his contacts. He does have a lot of guns, all that thing, right? He was retired, right? So he's in a disadvantage, disadvantage. Uh, but he has a lot of experience, so he builds up, right, to
Yep.
build the mafia and then everything else. So yeah, that I think. But I mean, I think that's like almost like John Wick turned, wedge fetish story. But it's a good idea. It's a very nice idea.
Absolutely. Uh, you mentioned that a bit ago. This is supposed to be a boarding school. And if it just switched from a private school to a boarding school last month, why doesn't Jenny take any of her belongings with her? It's not like she'll be
Yeah,
going back and
yeah,
forth from school to home. That's the point of a boarding school. And even if it turns out that this isn't a legit school, Jenny has no clue it isn't until she gets there. Just a
yeah,
weird little
yeah.
inconsistency.
I mean, at first, just to explain, you probably hit some shots in the in my microphone. It's fireworks. You
Oh,
probably
okay.
heard.
Yeah, I thought it sounded like somebody was slamming some shit or something in the background.
No, no, no. It's fireworks because soccer teams they make goals or
Mm,
something and people throw fireworks. And
okay.
but yeah, um, about the boarding school now. Um, yeah. I mean, I was confused by that too, especially
Mm,
because in the beginning, she. It sounded like she was just. She mentions that her house is close to the school,
yeah.
so that's a good thing. But
Walking distance.
yeah, walk distance is a good thing in a boarding school. Why, right? And
It's not like it's
so,
some
so
hidden,
yeah,
hard to find place, clearly.
yeah. I was confused by that.
Yeah. Uh, something I don't know if you remember is the beginning of chapter 2 where Jenny is legit shackled to her bed with actual chains. The story never circles back to that. It begins with Jenny looking back on the day that just happened and how she wouldn't be able to tell anybody. Nobody would believe her. And then we never circle back to that scene where she's shackled to her bed again. And that makes me think Blighty decided to take the story in a much more toned down and cartoony direction at some point,
I
rather
mean,
than having it be this
so
serious, legit kidnapping captivity story. It's a lot more. Oh, it's just bullying that's
so
keeping
I
her
mean,
there.
what I was confused by that too, uh, because I mean, I didn't really like the thing about she was shocked, she was shocked out by Abby, and she
Mm,
woke up in the bed, right? In a wedgie and things like that. That's what I understand. Um, I didn't really like that. I think that he could have made a scene with Rose and maybe Effie where they tie her to the chair and everything else. I think that would be a good use of time to introduce, the characters. But yeah, she wakes up in a bed where she's tied in chains and everything, and in a wedgie too, a shark wedgie. And yeah, I didn't understand that much because they say that it was her bed. But so what I thought was maybe it's like the room that she's going to sleep, in the school. It's her bed from her room. And but yeah, she just enter. She just meets Abby and her roommate Abby like in chapter 7 or something like that. So
mm.
apparently it was not her bed. I don't
Well,
know which bed.
I think it was like it. There was a jump in time from the end of chapter 1 to the beginning of chapter 2 forward, and then Blighty jumps back once she starts. I guess once Jenny starts recalling the events of the past day,
Hmm.
but like but we never see her put in shackles and chains. So
Yeah,
it
but
just seems a
but
weird plot point.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, it's not just that, but I think that in the beginning, it it was reading, it was, I mean, it was confusing, just like the plot points, just how the story moves with things like that we are just
Mm,
talking about. But just the way he writes, like not using too many paragraphs,
Mhm.
and did
Not enough detail.
yeah, not enough
That's the
detail.
problem.
It was hard to understand. It was really rough. Rough.
Mm,
I don't know how to say that.
yeah. Yes, it was very rough, but that's why I was so invested in following the story and giving the guy feedback because I mean, number one, it was basically the only ongoing story at the time, alongside me finishing up Fortunate Events and whatever Hans was doing as well. So I just wanted to encourage writers to keep going on the board because it was so dead. But it's the potential was there. It was so rough, but I could see the potential was so interesting. The premise was so fascinating. It could have been done so well, and it's done all right. But it could have been so much better.
Yeah, yeah, I did see potential too. Like and yeah, I think that more in like more to the end. Uh, I think that it became a story. I think that
Mm,
it, it started to be weird and nice, you know, like reading like gave his he was giving himself time to just build the dialogue and give details of what was happening, or what Jane was doing, why she was doing that, and everything turned out more reasonable, you know.
mhm.
And I think the story is good. I think the story is good. I like it.
Hmm. Jenny says that she wants to break the family cycle once she gets her dad's money, and I would love to know the background context of that statement. Are the rest of her family members like her dad? And I mean, even there, we only get the barest characterization for him. Number one, that he's a CEO of some company, and number two, that he treats everybody around him like dirt. That's it. That's
Hmm.
the entire character of Jenny's dad. We don't even know his name. So, what exactly does this family cycle mean? It's just another in a long list of aspects to the story that has no payoff. I think that description is also kind of weird. Quote, despite working as a CEO, he treated everybody around him like dirt. Why despite? Why would
And
somebody's
that's
first assumption of a CEO be a good person? The most
yeah,
efficient
like
method and the primary one used in business to get ahead is to be cutthroat or ruthless. So it doesn't exactly lead to the most empathetic human beings on the planet when competition
yeah,
and
no, I mean
efficiency, like where every
CEOs.
dollar matters.
Yeah, I mean that's what I expect from CEO. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's a big company, right?
If her dad even is a CEO of some company and just that's what they call him, and he's really just the kingpin of some drug trafficking or sex trafficking ring, you know?
Yeah, but that would be even worse, right?
I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know. We're clearly led to believe her dad is involved in some sketchy shit.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, a question that I have from chapter 2 is really what is stopping Jenny from removing the chair wedgie? As far as I could tell, she isn't restrained in any way, so couldn't she just stand up and pull her underwear off the back of the chair? Abby, quote, plonked her down and scarpered, so nobody's even in the room to stop her. This is just like the most basic restraint, and it doesn't do anything. I don't. What is this? Why couldn't she just take the wedgie out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember too much. From what I gather, I thought that she was in chains, but
Mm,
apparently she's not. So yeah, I don't get to. There is a scene, I don't remember the chapter, but it's just the chapter that she goes to sleep along with Abby in the same room as Abby, where Abby gives her a wedgie and Janie stays in that wedgie for the whole night. I don't know why. I mean, I even wrote down about it. Let me see if I found. Yeah, look, and it's chapter 14. I mean, Jenny gives her a break connection wedgie, and Jenny goes to sleep. You know, And she can't really sleep. She says that, and Abby goes sleep normally. So Jenny stays there the whole night with the bra connection wedgie. It's mentioned that she has the Effie has cameras around.
Mhm.
So it say that Jenny can really take the bra connection wedgie off because of the cameras. But then
I
in the
mean,
next morning, Jenny plays a prank on Abby. She makes like a big wedgie to a big rope to
mhm.
wedge Jenny to wedge
Yep,
Abby
yep.
and let Abby stuck there. So I mean, the cameras, the cameras they can catch Jenny taking her breath connection off, but they don't catch Jenny giving Abby that big wedgie for like
Well,
I
that
didn't
I think
understand.
that works out just fine, her Jenny giving Abby the wedgie because that's what Effie wants. That's her kink.
Yeah, I mean, from
She wants to
what I
be the
got it,
suffering.
I think that Effie wanted Jenny to be the one suffering. You know.
As far as I can tell, Effie's a sociopath who wants everybody suffering for her pleasure.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it would. What I think is that she was doing that to escape, you know, to find Rose.
Mm,
So I don't know. Maybe I remember things wrong because I did not
yeah.
write down that. But
That's why I wanted to spend a good bit of time writing out my notes exactly how I wanted to say them, so
yeah, but
I
yeah,
wouldn't miss
from
anything.
I did have I remember I had that feeling
Mhm.
where I don't know. It just felt it feels like F is the kind of villain who what's the word, man? I feel she's lazy, you know? Like I
Yeah.
feel she's lazy and she does not have minions doing all the stuff for her because like all right, Jenny goes there, traps Abby in a wedge. Nice. So Jenny fought back on Abby, and she's now going somewhere that she's not supposed to go, right? To find Rose in the cabinet or whatever. So Effie, she has cameras to see that, and she does not do anything. Like she does not suspect that Jenny fought back and is now walking to somewhere that she's not supposed to go. And
Mhm.
she also has no minions or whatever that can block Jenny from going to Rose or, an idea.
Yeah,
Jenny has everything to go to the police.
yeah. I mean, Rose definitely knows where the cameras are, that's why she avoids talking about her plans and acting out of line, but Jenny has no idea where any of these cameras are, so there's no way she's not getting picked up all the time by the cameras and Effie seeing everything that's happening.
And I mean, now that I think about it too, um, Rose says that she's building up a case to get Effie. But you don't just have to enter the school. It's not enough proof, you know. I mean, she
No.
has girls or she has multiple girls hanging around. If they bash her dog, they just have to grab her phone, and Rose does that. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being picky. I don't know.
No, I there's maybe if that was the only, like, weird thing about the story, then you could be considered picky, but because there's so many like this story loves to stack intrigue and mystery on top of each other, it inadvertently stacks missed potential and weird plot points and inconsistency as well at the same time. Like we've been saying, there are some very intriguing aspects to Jenny's dad, like Rose telling Jenny he makes his money illicitly. There's enough clues to make his plot line interesting to follow, and I think it works very well with the timing of the school being changed from private to boarding and Jenny moving to that town, wherever it is, whatever the name of that town is, as if the school is a front for money laundering. And maybe that's what's really going on here. Jenny's dad launders his money through this school, And maybe the school's meant to protect her from the outside world, like you said, which is why he enrolls her there. Yet the unsafe, yet the inside isn't safe either. Maybe, but it's such a stretch to actually believe that because there's so little evidence of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the suspense was a little weak. Yeah, sometimes. But it's hard to write that, and I think that he did a good job too. I think that the overall idea, the overall plot, I think it's nice. I think it's nice. And for example, like the one that I said about, all right, Jenny. If Jenny has so much freedom to just walk inside of the cameras and not raise any questions from Effie, and she could just go to the police, or maybe I don't get how F is that threatening, how F is that intimidating to them, how she has so much
Mm,
control. I think that those criticisms, these criticisms exist, but I don't think it's like the aim of the road. I think
mm,
that uh, it's nice. I think it's nice. I think he builds it nicely. I don't think um, it's something that makes this story, just unreadable. Like, oh, I can't enjoy the suspense or something like that. I think it
mm.
just raise some questions, like,
I
I think that
Yeah,
this is
I
a
think it works
little
very
plot hole.
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's not even a plot hole; it's just inconsistency, or
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
weird thing. But I think overall, Excommunicado is pretty good on a first read, but then it doesn't really hold up on rereadings. We've been talking a lot about Effie. Rose brings up Effie for the first time in chapter 3, stating she is the person in charge, or at least heavily implying it with this line: "She pulls the strings, I pull the knickers," which I think is a really good piece of dialogue. It's a pretty clever line, but
Yeah.
it also cuts the Abby twist off at the knees before it even gets a chance to be hinted at.
Hmm.
Uh, I think the first time that Rose and Jenny meet, Rose tells Jenny she likes her and that she fought for her in her corner, which are possible hints toward her being an undercover cop. And we'll talk about the Rose twist when we get to that point in the story. Though it's anybody's guess if Blighty knew that twist would even be in the story this early on. I personally don't think he was planning for Rose to be an undercover cop that early, but who knows? Maybe he was. I'm really not a fan, though, of Rose's backstory already being explored the chapter after she's introduced, rather than waiting some time while building up familiarity with the hardliner, authoritarian side of her character, especially since it seems to contradict what she just told Jenny about only learning about the existence of wedgies once she came to the school. How could she have a dirty little secret about wedgies if she didn't even know they existed? Maybe she's just lying to Jenny, but that conflicts with the twist of her being an undercover cop, since her wanting to find a wedgie buddy seems to be her reason for being at the school rather than investigating Effie, at least initially when we're first brought into her backstory. And it's not like Rose was telling anybody else this backstory. Nobody but Rose and the audience are privy to that information while it's being conveyed in the story. I would have so much rather not had any reason to sympathize with Rose for at least half the narrative while Jenny gets accustomed to the actual school.
Yeah, I mean, like from what I got from Rose was that, all right, in the beginning she's just following orders, she was not a bitch, she was just following orders. And then it comes from her point of view where Effie bullies her, and she goes back to the room with Jenny, and like she's crying, she's just super submissive, and she's basically saying, "Oh, I'm ruining. Please, sorry, sorry, sorry." So, all right. In this moment, I thought, okay, Rose is a victim. She is supposed to be by Jenny's side, and that keeps coming, keeps coming, and I don't know. In the I think it's next to when she says she's going to be a police officer. She it looks like she starts throwing curveballs all the time because she makes an enemy out of Jenny sometimes, and then she's not anymore. And I don't know why, man. I mean, she was a police officer. She was building a case, but how could Jenny really mess with her case, with her plans? You know, I really don't understand. Like from the moment that she said, "I Effie bullied is bullying me, making me do all that stuff," I hear crying. I'm bawling my eyes out.
Mm.
I I showing you that I'm also weak in some way. I thought that that was the moment that she was basically becoming Jenny's ally, and
Yeah.
then she just sometimes is a Jenny's enemy too because she needs to convince Effie that she's still the cop, and
Yep.
but Jenny
Playing both sides.
Jenny makes her still thinks of her as a villain. She's mad at her in the end. It's like I don't know
I
how to
can
say.
I that does kind of make sense to me because Abby's got to Rose has got to play both sides. Are you
Hmm.
talking about? I'm sorry, you're talking about Rose or Abby?
Yeah, Rose.
Yeah, Rose. Yeah, Rose has to play both sides so her cover isn't blown. And Jenny still mainly looks at Rose as an enemy rather than an ally because what's the only thing she's experienced from Rose? Pain and being a bitch, basically, just for holding her against her will. Uh, she hasn't experienced any real help or anything like any sort of relief from whatever punishment she has to face. She's only received negative things from Rose, so I understand why Jenny still looks at her as a villain.
Yeah, I don't know. So the play both sides thing, I get it. Yes, I do get it, and yeah, I think that where things will stop for Rose. No,
Mm,
she was supposed to be not an enemy of Jenny. She's helping her in the end. And but yeah, I really don't get like um, I can't understand why Jenny is making her bad in her head.
yeah,
Um, because I mean she in chapter 4, Jenny mentions that she's like having a crush for Rose after Rose gave her like a lot of legends and things like that. Um, actually, I think the no, I think it was in chapter 4 that Jenny mentions like, "Oh, Rose is so beautiful. Maybe I have some feelings for her." She mentions that some in some time, right?
mhm,
And yeah, I don't know, man. How do you go from that? Like, she was a bitch to you, a huge bitch to you. Now she confessed, "Oh, I'm not a bitch. I'm just in a case, I'm bullying you because I have to." So now she's like, "Oh, all right, she's bullying me because she has to get this motherfucker." And oh, she's so pretty, and I think I like it. I think I like her. I think that I think I have feelings for her, and the same things keeps happening along the story, and she's suddenly mad, you know.
mm. Yeah, I was kinda picturing have you ever heard of Dead Man Wonderland?
Bro, maybe it has another title in Portuguese. I remember that.
Okay, well, it's basically a guy who's sent. It's a manga and anime where a guy's wrongfully sent to a prison where the prisoners have to perform feats and basically entertain guests. It's a amusement park essentially, like a modern day gladiatorial arena. Um, and I was picturing Rose as the basically the warden in that, the chief guard, Makina. She was That's kind of what I was picturing, but in case you don't know it's a very good manga. I definitely recommend it.
Hmm.
Uh, little convoluted, little weird, but pretty good. Uh, but my critique of Rose's backstory being introduced is kind of similar to how Effie is being introduced at all. I really would have liked to have the day to day of the school explored before having Effie appear on screen at all. She should be
Hmm.
hinted at as the elusive, omnipotent one in charge, but actually bringing her into the picture before we get to see the actual school that she is supposedly running and in charge of is kind of anticlimactic. Or
I
at
mean,
least it kind of ruins the mystique I love in stories that have overarching big bads, like Fullmetal Alchemist with Father.
the problem with Effie being the big villain is because she
She isn't
just,
really, supposedly.
yeah, yeah, not hinted. Everything, like the writer says, all the bad stuff that she does, all the
Mm,
bad stuff that she does, all the girls that she has affected,
but we don't see any of it.
but you don't see any of it.
Yeah,
Exactly. You don't
100%.
see any of it. We see, Rose, who has some stuff, Abby, who has some stuff, but we don't see her being intimidating.
Yeah,
It's actually a very common thing to do. Like it's a very common technique for writers. When
yeah,
you have a villain, you have to see the villain doing bad things to the characters that people love. You know,
yeah.
um, you know, maybe kill someone, maybe hurt them in some way, hurt
Mhm.
people that they love. It's like in basically every show, right?
Yeah, 'cause you have to
It,
establish the threat level of the villain, and there's no threat level with Effie. The only person that she impacts is Rose, and we don't trust Rose. We don't like Rose because we're on Jenny's side.
yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Jenny is the protagonist. Jenny does not like Rose. It's implied that Rose just cares about the case and whatever. And yeah, I hate, I do hate Effie because she's a bitch. She does a lot of criminal things. Uh,
Can you hate a character when there's not really that much to the character to hate?
no, when I
I'm
say
kind of
hate,
indifferent about Effie overall, honestly.
no, when I say hate, I think that she's a big bitch. You know why? She
Yeah,
could die, and I would be okay with it. But yeah, hate would be the wrong word because hate is a strong feeling, right? And I don't really have strong feelings for her, right?
yeah.
Because I did not see her doing things. You know, she does not really do anything, right? It's just like it's saying, like get Darth Vader, for example, like the most classic villain. What, like in the first Star Wars, you know,
Are you
on
talking
the
about Star Wars Episode 1 or Star Wars Episode 4?
it's episode 4,
Okay,
the
the
the the,
original
the
re
first,
the first one to be
eh,
released. Okay,
yeah, the first of the first, yes.
yeah.
And what's one of the first things that Darth Vader does? She kills Obi-Wan, the old
Mhm.
Obi-Wan.
Yes.
And it's
Threat
so,
level established immediately.
yes, it's so primal because Obi-Wan
Mhm.
was training Luke.
Yes.
Obi-Wan was fucking cool. Obi-Wan's
Yes.
really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Even the young, the young one's probably even cooler. Obi-Wan's one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars.
Obi-Wan
So,
saves Luke from death by the or enslavement by the Tusken Raiders. He's Yeah, absolutely.
yes, exactly. So, yes, man. Like you say, threat established. This guy just killed a awesome character. Luke
Mhm.
now needs revenge. You see things are building, and you
And
want to see.
things
You
happen as a
want,
consequence of other things happening. It's not just things
yes.
happening
Now
in by
let's
coincidence.
let's put that Vader. Let's write that Vader as if he was Effie. He would be in the Death Star, you know, and no one, or like he would just be there sending stormtroopers to. No, 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 sorry, not aiming stormtroopers. He was just saying like one guy to keep messing with Luke.
Yeah.
And this one guy, he would actually be a double cop. So he
Yeah.
was not even like a full servant, like Darth Maul, for
Mhm.
example. That's in another movie, but it's just an example. A
Such a
bad
good reveal,
servant
though.
who like follows him blindly,
Yeah.
you don't really have that. I mean, in this first movie, you don't have a blind servant of that Vader, right? Because the Siths they are all dead, right?
Mm.
Except for that Vader, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, you you don't have that. You just have that Vader being a son of a bitch, and all the myth of the Death Star and things like that, And things follow. The Death Star is blown. Everything's so epic, right? Yeah, and yeah, but yeah, you see, you see how they become, uh, how they become villains, right? How they make things, how they how they are toxic for the whole Star Wars. And yeah, Effie, I don't really see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I also really dislike the fourth wall break of quote, "At this point in the story, it is usual to go into detail on about the wedgie fetish in chapter 4," which also isn't the most grammatically sound sentence in the world, as you just heard. It's a little sounds a little weird, but yeah, not a fan of that. Just either go into the detail about the wedgie fetish there or don't. Don't say. Usually people do because it doesn't impact the story at all. It doesn't mean anything. Now, an idea I've come to pretty recently is that stories which have the characters laying out their characteristics and thought processes don't have much of a story to tell. If you're filling up the page with what your characters are like instead of what they're doing, the reader has no sense of the world progressing or being
Hmm.
influenced or impacted in any way, and they'll be far more likely to either skim through it as fluff or skip it entirely. Swap the description of what characters are like for what they're doing and action that shows it off. It's the old adage of show don't tell, which is what so many people struggle with in this community when writing. For example, Blighty tells the audience that Jenny had been released from the chair rather than describing Rose actually performing that act. And I think
Hmm.
it's actually a reason that Anno Manhattan is so damn good because each chapter is stuffed full of legitimate things happening. Not just the characters listing out their traits and leaving no room for the reader to be intelligent. Not to mention that Anne's chapters are more than a few paragraphs, but
Yeah, they're pretty big, yeah. But yeah, and I think that too. I mean, um, sometimes the story, it's weird feeling because the story, I think it's kind of fast, like it moves fast, but when it's time, it's really man, I don't even know if it's going to make sense, but the story is always moving fast, like things are things are progressing, but the characters are not doing much while the story progresses. Let me try to rephrase that. Um, like chapter two, chapter I have that reading. Um, yes, chapter
I mean
three first.
the good
Hmm?
thing is that the chapters are not very long, so it's pretty easy to just control F and find the exact thing you're looking for.
Hmm? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a little hard because I have to keep. trying to remember the chapters, I can really uh, I can really think of the specific ones because they
Think of a specific word that appears in it, and then you can just use Control F to search for it,
uh,
and you'll find it.
um, but yeah, it's chapter three,
Okay.
where like I even wrote that down because I just feel like the road advances in chapter three. And in
Mm,
chapter two and three, kind of feels like she's just there in the room, and things are happening very slowly. And I don't really. Looks like the writer didn't really give itself the time to really put us there in that moment, and then the road just skips forward to the next plot point.
mm,
So I think she just leaves the room in chapter three. I needed to make a I need to write things down more, bro. I'll be honest.
mhm,
That was my mistake.
mhm. Yeah, that's why I wanted to spend plenty of time,
But
uh,
do you agree?
writing out my notes and all that.
Do you agree with what I say? Do you understand it? Because it was a little bit confusing. I think.
Mhm. Well, that's why I like to spend some time writing out all my notes so I know exactly what I wanna say, and I know exactly how I wanna say it. Uh, it's very odd to me that Jenny says Abby is the one who got her into this situation at the end of chapter 4 when Rose makes it abundantly clear that she was already aware of Jenny. As I mentioned earlier on, though maybe that's a hint towards Abby's twist, but again, there's just so many things work against that twist even existing that, and I will lay out my full thoughts on it when we get to the very end. But um, Blighty says at the beginning of chapter 5 that he was trying to build things up slowly, which is very funny to me as well. That since his output was so rapid at that point, he was putting out chapters every other day, basically. Um, and none of them are more than a few paragraphs for a large portion of the story. But I do think a very strong point of the story is that he's got very strong alliteration at times. One of the lines that exemplifies this being, quote, "These were not filled with facile facts and long forgotten documents. They were packed with panties." It comes up here and there, and I think it adds some great poeticism that I can't help but appreciate. It's
Mhm.
things like that, aspects of the story which really make me enjoy it on some level, despite the
Yeah,
numerous flaws that I found in it.
yes, I understand that 100%. Yes, I'll be honest. I didn't wrote down on of those examples
Mm.
from
I didn't get all of
poet.
them, but the ones that
Yeah,
really grabbed me is like, "Damn, that is actually a really good line." I made sure to note all of those because
yeah,
this story has a bunch of flaws, but I wanna point there is a lot of good stuff to it as well. It's not just all the
yeah,
shit that we've been
but
breaking
yeah,
apart.
yeah. I can remember some of them, like um, some not jokes, but little piece of word playing, right? With like wedges and things like that.
Mm.
And yeah, he really impressed me with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you clearly looking at what he's writing, you clearly have good skill already, you have talent, man. It is just a matter of polishing up your toolbox and adding some extremely necessary tools to that box. That's what he was missing, and he progressively got better and better and better right up until the very last chapter, and then it kind of fell off a cliff, in my opinion.
I
But
mean, like,
I will get back to that. We'll get to that when we
like,
get to the
like, for example, like the chapter one, you know, you have the tree that's presented. I found that really amazing. I really like the tree being introduced. I felt like, oh, nice. He's setting up a road.
mm,
And she climbs on it to see the torn underwear, and she finds Abby down. She goes down, And then, bro, they barely talk like Jenny and Abby.
Mm. Well,
Give
it's because
yourself time.
that is really just I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because Abby just immediately attacks Jenny.
Yeah, but but I mean, I would like if they had a small chat,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
yeah, use the characters, like use the characters,
Yeah.
let
He's
them
only got
talk.
4 total in the story that actually show up, and one of them is barely used.
Yes, yes, exactly, man.
Yeah, terrible. Uh, yeah. But I think
And
that's why so many writers start out, especially in this community, with 2 or 3 characters max. Like, maybe there's a couple of tiny characters that make a one-off appearance, but so many of the writers start out with such a few amount because it's so much easier to balance each one and
yeah,
make
no,
sure that you
totally, totally.
get enough.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah. I don't know if the amount is that bad. Like the amount of important characters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I want to keep that amount of characters in the story, um, I think it's okay. But I think that he should, in the story, I think that he should use like no named characters,
Mm,
just people to populate the world, right?
yeah.
I mean, if you
Well,
get stories like not everyone is describing these stories, like you have crowds and things like that.
yeah, that's
And if like six girls gang up on a girl to give her a gang wedgie, you don't. It's not no need to be six named girls, right? Just like in the past, eh, uh, someone could get like a gang wedgie, and maybe he does not know like most of the people that are in a gang wedgie, like
yeah.
wedging her.
Mhm.
So maybe she just know honor too. That was her friends, her bully, something like that.
Yeah, we've
So yeah,
definitely we've talked about this before, just having background characters that maybe they're not named, maybe they just show up once in a blue moon, just in the background as a little detail, a little throwaway line or something, just to let the audience know they're there, and the world feels a lot more real and lived in, rather than just this artificial
yes,
construction purely for the sake of this story, and then it goes away, hands wiped off,
yes,
nice and clean.
yes. Yes, exactly. It's important. It's something that I think it's really, really important. And I mean, it's basic. It's not does not need a lot of time. You don't really need to develop characters and things like that. You
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
you know, uh, she's walking in the school, says that she's passing by some people, and make
Mm,
them give her a bad eye because she does something
yeah.
wrong, because she's in a
Yeah,
black connection already,
unless
something
she's
like
living
that.
literally right next door to the school, she's walking through some kind of scenery or something, like, there are a billion ways this story could have been expanded and detail could have been added in, especially in the early chapters.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. I totally agree
100%.
there, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think. What like thinking about it now, the confusing thing that I was trying to speak was that I think that the chapters are very short, and the story moves fast. So it's like
Yeah.
you have it. I don't know, and I don't know how many words, but you have like six lines of dialogue, and boom, the story goes to the next chapter,
Mm,
and it keeps doing that,
yeah.
and the story moves, but the characters does not really follow the story. It's like
Mhm.
the story is developing, the characters is not. That's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah, that's when I was following the story initially. That was the thing I kept telling him. Slow it down, pace things out, space things out. Let
Yeah,
ideas stand alone. Let ideas stand on their own.
and
And
I
he
mean,
did, to his credit, he improved so rapidly, so quickly.
yes,
It's
I
subtle
think
changes at first, but then they're big in the moment if you're really invested in what was going on already. But looking, like, especially chapter 1 to chapter 17, it's like 2 completely different stories, not even just in terms of the where the direction that the plot has taken, but in formatting and outline, it's the number of ideas present, it's like 2 different writers wrote the same story, basically.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's awesome. He did a fantastic, like, that is kind of the main reason why I kept going with the story, is because he was implementing the feedback content I gave so well, and he was doing it so quickly. It was kind of inspiring to see somebody improving at the rate he was going.
Yeah, that was interesting to see. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you in chapter, I don't know, 12 or something like that. You could already see that things were taking their
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
It was not like what I was saying. Like history moves, characters does not really paint themselves.
Mhm.
I think I mean, it does not have to be, slow too, but
No.
I think there's a minimum pace, right? I think
Yeah.
that characters need to build themselves along the story.
Yeah.
Um, you can do it slower, and then characters they develop themselves a lot more, and the story goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
I think what both of I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what both of us are trying to say is that slowing down the story in this case doesn't necessarily mean each individual story element taking longer to happen, but that the number of things happening in any given section is lessened.
yes, yes, it's just that.
Mm.
Um,
Because a fast pace can work exceptionally well for, I think, what this story I think was trying to capture, which is falling down a rabbit hole, a web of intrigue and mystery. That can work exceptionally well in things like spy thrillers and whatnot.
I
But
think
yeah, you have
that
to do it properly.
what I think is the pace, like things have to be moving the same pace. You know, you want a fast-paced story. I think it's okay,
Mm,
but character development needs to be, I mean, fast too, in the sense of uh, how do I say, man? Uh, if you want to make the story move fast, uh, all right. So you need to also make the character development fast. So you need to choose your time very carefully. Like action movies do, for example.
yeah,
When they develop the characters, it's like fast, but usually it hits right. It's
mm,
time well spent,
mm,
and then boom, fast story, fast story, development. Go
yeah.
fast, but make it count. You know,
Yes,
and
you do it with a purpose. Don't just do it. Have a
yes,
reason
exactly,
for doing it.
exactly. So in this case, it was like the story fast, fast, fast. Character development time slow, slow. Oh,
Yeah,
now it's time to go back to the pace of the story, and you did not finish the character development because you did not go fast enough.
yeah.
You didn't use that time well, right?
Yeah, it was not
And
efficient character development or
yes,
characterization.
it's a hard thing to explain because
I actually
you
I figured out I think I figured out the way to explain it, which I will lay out later on.
uh-huh. Yes, but yeah, I have ideas in my brain like to how to explain it. But yes, it's good. I think that you got my point.
Yes.
But yeah, if you want to make the story move fast, you need a specific pace. If you want to make the story move slow, You need a specific pace, and you story will proceed in different ways. Like for example, Ennio Mahara. In Ennio Mahara, it's a slow development story, right? I take a lot of time with dialogue, character development, and it's a long story. And the pace is slow. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes I make the pace go a little bit faster, like in Henry point of views, for example. And then in Henry point of views, you don't have a lot of character development. You have in very crucial moments. Most of the time, it's action, it's dialogue, it's things happening, things
Mm,
happening. Story moves, things happening. Little bit of character development, story moves. So yeah, it's hard to like put it in numbers, like the logic. But but yeah, you have a pace, and it's important. Yeah.
hmm I don't remember which chapter it is. The mental note that Jenny takes about not rising to Rose's bait, I think it's very pointless, considering Rose successfully taunts her by saying nobody ever fights back, causing Jenny to rise to the bait by fighting back and kissing Rose in the shin at the very beginning of chapter 6. That's chapter 6. Do you remember that? It just was very weird to me.
In chapter 6,
Yeah, where I think maybe
so
it was at the end of chapter 5 that Jenny makes a mental note to not rise to Rose's bait in that room. And then she immediately does rise to her bait.
bro, chapter 6, I'll be honest, it's literally written down here. Chapter 6, it's a fighting chapter. Pretty hard to understand. But the script is okay. Like the
Mm,
dialogue, the road choices and things like that. I can remember that I like it. Like this little fight, like the wedge. I think the wedge fight's right here, right?
mm,
And then I think the wedge fight start here, and then the chapter move. The next chapter is like a sub against Dawn, like chapter almost. Yes, I like it, chapter 6, like in this regard, but I didn't really understood what was going on. I think it was a little hard to understand. So maybe I agree with you, like, what you
yeah,
just said.
yeah. Now, Rose actively recounts in her mind how Abby folded during the intake process. Quote, then there was Jenny. Nobody had tried to fight like that, or at least not that quickly. Even Abby, for all her faults, had cowered into complacency with remarkable ease. This line clearly tells me Blighty had no plan for Abby to be the mastermind in the end, and that Abby twist was introduced last minute. Doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna keep bringing it up every time that it's some weak inconsistency happens, but once you'll really get why I don't think it makes any sense once I get to the end. Chapter 7 now starts out completely incorrect by saying fight or flight is, quote, that feeling you get when you know that confrontation is inevitable, but every single fiber of your being is telling you to run. The second part of that quote is just flight, not fight. If every single fiber of your being is telling you to run, that is flight. You're not being told to fight. I think it's also very strange that Blighty says it came too late to Jenny when she's about to have the sand poured in the bucket and give her a really nasty wedgie, when all of chapter 6 is Jenny acting on that instinct and attempting to flee. It just doesn't make any sense. That that quote, I don't know what Blighty was trying to get at, but like certain times he just shoots himself in the foot, whether it's proactively or retro, like before he's even done something with the Abby twist, or after, like immediately after undercutting the thing. There's really good stuff about the story, but then there's just things that make no sense that are just completely baffling to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes. I'll be honest, bro. Like, I didn't get really confused about that story, and
Mm,
like it made me feel. like dumb, like I didn't understand the story. I don't know, but I mean, I didn't really have a lot of. I never had a problem,
Mm,
understanding stories.
yeah.
So, but yeah, like for example, I thought Jenny, Abby, Rose, um, I was never 100% really understand their personalities. Um, like, are they just subservient to Effie? Are they really trying to fight back? Are they the masterminds? Like Abby ended up being. I was never sure, man.
Mm. Yeah, it's the guy was clearly very passionate when he was writing it, and it definitely helped that he immediately got good, positive, encouraging feedback right off the bat as soon as he started writing it, which is very, very difficult to come by. Um, but that passion, I think, overran his I don't even know what you call it.
The logic
Not really
was
capability, but I mean his planning, I suppose.
yeah, yeah.
If it's maybe it's possible that he just fell into the trap of this looks or sounds cool, and I think it makes sense to me, so I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
done that before.
I could see the timeline, right? Like the dates that he was posting chapters.
Mm,
He was like
very, very
20,
quick, and then it
yes,
slowed down.
yes, very, very quick and very short chapters too.
Yes.
So, I can guess that there has been a lot of rewriting and really thinking about things and
Yeah, I
really
mean,
checking.
how much thought can you really put into it if you're putting it out that quickly?
Yes, and I mean, I do think that the first chapters, I mean, that's a thing that was bugging me a lot because I think that chapters they need to be properly spaced, like chapters need to have a beginning, middle, and end. And I'm not talking about like lengthy. No, I'm not saying that they need to be long.
Mm,
I'm saying that things need to start. The the point of the chapter needs to start. Then something needs to be happening, and then you need a conclusion to that chapter. And then you
yeah.
make a new one, right? For example, like my story, I had a chapter 7 is like one of the quickest chapters. It's very short.
Mm,
Um, I think it's exactly like that. Like you have the beginning. In the beginning, what's happening? Just things that are not really important, like Henry talking to Annie. Henry gives her a wedgie. Then Annie goes talk to Richard. They have a small fight. That's like going to the middle. Then the middle starts. It's Annie having the whole shower thing. They want to. Kimberly says that they will pick on Sophie. So what's happening in the middle? It's the
mm,
actual plot of the chapter. Like things are colliding. Things are, the fighting is starting. What will happen in the ending is being determined right here in the middle. And then
yeah.
the middle finishes, so boom, ending. And sometimes you resolve some things in the ending, and boom, chapter ends.
No.
So and this chapter was short, like so. Yes, I think you need to build using this formula. And some chapters I think you have that, but in the beginning I think that's almost non-existent. Like I think that it's like very short and very. You don't really have the experience of reading a chapter.